across then live to Kyiv, speak to our correspondent Gulliver Cragg, who joins us from there. Gulliver, we've seen then some Russian forces moving away. The word, though, really is scepticism at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. President Zelensky, in his nightly address to Ukrainians, said there are some positive signals coming out of the talks that were held in Turkey and the statements from the Russians. But as he put it, how can we have trust in a country that is continuing to pursue military campaigns aimed at destroying us? Those were the words he used. And so he urged Ukrainians not to let down their guard and to continue defending Ukrainian cities, including, of course, the capital, Kyiv, as they have done with such remarkable success since this invasion started. You can see behind me that includes defending cultural monuments where volunteers have been putting up sandbags around various statues in the city centre in case Kyiv is targeted. But the general opinion does seem to be that if there is to be an attack on Kyiv, it is not yet. Russian forces have been seen leaving Ukraine in the direction both of Russia and Belarus. Russian forces have been photographed and filmed in Belarus as well. But as you said, the Ukrainian General Staff's view of this is that they're doing it in order to regroup and then potentially try to attack or encircle Kyiv again sometime in the future. Some international military experts, though, are a little bit more hopeful, thinking that perhaps the Russians really, after this failure to encircle Kyiv and to achieve their objectives and this extraordinary defense by the Ukrainian armed forces, are not going to be tempted to try again because they've come to the conclusion that they simply can't do it. And so maybe they will focus more only on the east, as they've said.
Gulliver, I mean, Ukraine did make a series of propositions, didn't it, at those peace talks?
Yes, Ukraine has said it will agree not to join NATO if it gets cast iron security guarantees from a series of other countries, and it suggested which countries those might be. Ukraine also said that it would like to join the European Common Market rapidly in order to open the way for a swifter access to the European Union. Interestingly, Russia said that it had no objection to Ukraine joining the European Union. If you remember back in 2014, when in a way all of this intense trouble between Ukraine and Russia started, it was because Russia had an objection to Ukraine even signing a trade agreement with the European Union, let alone joining it. So there we do have a sort of change of stance from Russia. And then the Ukrainians also proposed to Russia that the issue of Crimea be frozen for 15 years. And Ukraine's negotiator, Mikhailo Podolyak, an advisor to President Zelensky, came away from that really full of joy that the Russians didn't reject that out of hand, but said, OK, maybe we'll think about it. But I think really all of these proposals, although they seem very reasonable from Ukraine, and I think that's Ukraine's intention, is to make proposals that seem like it's making concessions and that seem reasonable, are proposals that are ultimately going to be very hard to accept, both for Russia and for the potential Western allies of Ukraine that would have to offer those security guarantees, because how exactly could they really be framed and made legally binding in such a way as for Ukraine to consider them to be true guarantees?
Gulliver, thanks very much. Gulliver Cragg, a correspondent, talking to us live there from Kyiv.